Well, 93% of men admit to viewing pornography, and the other 7%, they're liars. Well, this is Jason for Soulfire. Perhaps you've heard an illustration like that at some point where a pastor has said some high percentage of men are viewing pornography and then the remainder of them are liars. I know I've heard people say that. And so in this video today, as a part of our channel where we want to bring gospel hope for a porn-filled world, I want to ask the question, do all men view pornography? Now, certainly pornography is not a men's-only issue. It is a significant issue, struggle, and temptation for women. But in this video today, I want to specifically address men and ask, is it possible that there are men out there in the church who are living in integrity, who are not fallen victim to one of the great idols of our day, pornography? So is it true that all men look? And I want to give a scriptural example today that I think will give us an answer to this question. We live in a day and age where many prominent church leaders have fallen. A number of years ago, there was a adultery website that got hacked, and all the names of those people who were on that website were released. And there were many prominent Christian leaders in the church whose names were exposed, that they had a secret online life where they were communicating with other people, maybe had even set up having affairs through this dating or this adultery website. And it was a huge scandal in the church. But it makes us ask the question, are there actually men out there who are living in sexual integrity? And if you're asking that question, then chances are perhaps you don't know men in your life. You haven't seen men whose lives, both prominent out front in public and also privately, have been lives of integrity. It is fully possible today to, from an outside view, be a fully functional Christian leader in the church, have a position of leadership and spiritual leadership in the church and in the home, and be a fully functional porn addict. It can live beneath the surface. It can be a fully anonymous thing. And certainly we've seen examples of that. I know my life was certainly an example of that. I struggled with a porn addiction all through high school and all through college. All the while I took leadership positions in the ministries I was involved in and also in my church. And I was trying to juggle both of those things at the same time. And many surveys have actually shown over 60% of men in the church actively viewing pornography, and really ask the question, are there men who are able to say no to these temptations that we face? We can certainly see scriptural examples of sexual addiction. The life of David. David, who was the man after God's own heart, falls into adultery with Bathsheba. He had lots of wives, lots of concubines. This is definitely not something that is new today. But the example that I want to use today to show that I think there's a scriptural precedent that yes, there are men living in integrity, even if you feel like there are no men that are living in integrity, comes all the way back into the Old Testament in the book of 1 Kings chapter 19 with the prophet Elijah. You see, in Elijah's day, the vast majority of the Jews, of God's chosen people, had actually bowed the knee to Baal. And so it seemed like everybody had fallen victim to this idolatry and that there was nobody following after God. And Elijah actually said this in 1 Kings 19 verses 14. He said, "I've been very jealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the people of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. And I, even I only am left, and they seek my life to take it away." So Elijah fell into a deep depression, and he actually believed he was the only person trying to follow after God, that there was no one else. Everyone had fallen victim. Now, I think we could maybe see that today with something like pornography that is so easy, so anonymous, often even tolerated in the church today, that very few people we could possibly imagine is anybody actually walking in integrity. I've had conversations with students on campus. I particularly remember talking to one young girl as we were talking about this issue of immorality and the men that she had known and men that she had seen in church. And when we were talking about this, she said she didn't even know that there were men who wouldn't view pornography. So she would also believe with what Elijah was saying here as well, that ultimately maybe there's nobody who lives in integrity. But this was God's response in 1 Kings 19. God looked at Elijah and he said, "Yet I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees that have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him." You see, God knew that there were men and women in Israel who had integrity, who were willing to risk everything to not fall after the idols of the day. And I think that is true today. I think there are men and women in the church who are living in integrity. Now, I don't think that there are men and women who are not having temptation. I think we're all having temptation. We're all going to struggle with sin to some degree or another. But I do believe that there are men and women who are walking in integrity. Well, what do you think? Have you fallen victim to this lie that perhaps there's nobody who's walking in integrity? Maybe you've even thought all men view pornography. Maybe you even know some, or you are one of the men or women who are walking in integrity and saying no to this temptation. If so, put some comments in the comments below. This is Jason for Soulfire. Here on this channel, we want to bring gospel hope for a porn-filled world. If you want to see more content like this, definitely hit the like button down there and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.